From somewhere beneath the sands of reddened Mars, a secret tryst, a magical bond, a silent guardian sows the seed of hope into the void.
Hey Chip, so there's a super secret place on Mars, Tiana Pass. Nothing to legends or awesome crystals or anything. Probably doesn't even exist. I marked it on your map for you, so you can make sure you don't go there on accident. And you better not come see me afterwards either. Winky face.
You're here to defend something that defies my own understanding of the void. These crystals need you. Stop the Grenier and Corpus.
Old War. WARFRAME made crystal caskets. Caskets for who? Belric and Rania. Mighty good genes they had, yes. Genes for the tube men. Smash the crystals, take the genes, do the science. My tube men get stronger.
Tyle Regger has seized upon a new discovery, an old legend revealed to be true. Within these crystals lie Belric and Rania. Encased in void-born crystals, they are frozen in time. Yet Regger seeks their bodies not to right a wrong left over from the old war. He seeks only their bodies as material for further research into Grenier gene repair.
Corpus forces have regrouped. Go. Do you know the story of Belric and Rania? Lovers whose guardian WARFRAME tried to save them by encasing them in her crystal. It is their remains, and the connection forged between them that you are protecting.
The protector's name was Citrine, a WARFRAME that channels the probability of the void into permanent, unchanging crystals. Who were Belric and Rania, that the WARFRAME assigned to them would hold them in such high regard?
Tube men, try again.
Regger is infuriated and impatient the longer we hold his forces at bay.
Having a wee cavat nap, Krill? Rodents in your house, Krill. Thieving rodents. Make me come to Mars, do your job for you. Smash the crystal. Break the tunnel. No genes for you.
Tenno, the Corpus and Grenier seek to destroy two crystal formations so intertwined with void energy that a tunnel forever links them. Protect them at all costs. Amass Citrine's lost remnants to manifest her protective power. These crystals formed on Deimos ages ago. Now they are being exploited by smugglers. Belric and Rania deserve better than that.
The reason the Corpus are after these crystals seems to be that they are a convenient energy source for quick and quiet transport of goods.
Somewhere, Citrine still seeks to protect Belric and Rania, collect her remnants to fulfill her final wish.
Belric the bold, Rania the clever, unleash the infested on Deimos forever. Never liked that rhyme. Garbage rhyme.
The limerick Tyle Regger recites suggests that Belric and Rania were the reason Deimos became overrun with infested. I had assumed that the Entrati family had been responsible, given brother and sister's penchant for studying infested specimens. There is, however, some parallels in the duality and eternal bond shared between the Voss and Fom infested serpents, as well as the duality in the dragons seen in the void. How far-reaching is the influence of Belric and Rania's love as it permeates through the void?
When extreme emotions meet pure void energy, they can change reality, bend and break the laws of nature. Might this explain the connection between these crystals?
Citrine's void tunnel exposes the void to the constancy of Belric and Rania's feelings of love. The Lotus, simple as the explanation may be, gently explains the basics of eternalism's concept of conceptual embodiment. When consciousness, as will, interacts with the void becomes something. In this case, the void became a tunnel. connecting the two lovers for all eternity.
As the enemy is eliminated, Citrine's remnants appear. The Void, manifesting her last wish to protect Belric and Rania.
Getting tired, Tenno? Getting sleepy? Well, I can go all day and all night. Watch me. One more trip through the tunnel of love, Tenno. Pitter, pitter, pitter. Rodents snatch crystals from sick Deimos. Stashed one on Venus. Stashed one on Mars. Void kids tangled up like crystals. Two men! Smash this tunnel! Stop the rodents.
Tile Regger makes a more on-the-nose reference to John Gray's self-help relationship book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, which gained massive popularity in 1992 in the United States and took on a kind of viral meme status. The book and subsequent series are fairly uninspired suggestions to adhere to gender norms from an outdated bioessentialist point of view.
If either crystal is destroyed, the tunnel, their connection, collapses. Do not let that happen.
Yet, in a twist of cosmic irony, Citrine's last wish, her desire to protect and preserve the love between Belric and Rania, has ensured that the two will never be reunited. Their love creates a bridge through the void that can cross the cosmos, yet that bond will never bring the lovers together. From Otak, we can learn a lot more.
Hey!
Otak is quite pleased to see you.
Ooh! You know about Citrine and Belric and Rania? I love that story! Lloyd says it isn't true, though. Boo.
I did not say that, Otak. I merely said that it has been significantly embellished.
Citrine was a warframe! You know what that means? Warframes were real! Citrine was made out of minerals? I wish I was made out of minerals. So, Chip, you ever wondered how this place got infested? Me too. Some folks say Citrine's story happened right here on Deimos.
Yes, they do say that, despite being politely asked not to.
Can you believe Belric and Rania got their home kerblooied by the infestation on purpose? Infestation can't eat crystal. So what do you do when your pals are gonna be eaten? Turn them into crystals! Nothing says true love like minerals! Citrine's story happened back in old war times. At least a week ago. Maybe more. Lloyd says the Citrine story is sentimental fiction. I guess Lloyd forgot we got invaded by the sentiments.
Those were the sentients, Otak. As I believe I have explained before.
They say the two are connected through the void. To this day.
What would our old master have made of that?
While we don't know the specifics, we can learn that Citrine was protecting the lovers from the infested, while Lloyd warns us of the risks that accompanied a constant bridge through the void by reminding us of Albrecht and Trotty and the Man in the Wall.
Zata. Truth. It began long before us. We who now live our perfect and dull, endless lives. It began long before these moon palaces and body markets hurling around our golden sun. It began long before our light coil thinkers, our radiation wars, our oil, smoke. It began with us, the continuity and its twin, wanderlust. The need for unseen shores deep in our marrow. No judge, jester, queen, or king can escape this old blood. We are nomads. eternal. And when no ocean, mountain, or sky could contain us, our gaze hungered starward. Afar, they mocked us with their brittle light, winking and jeering like dangling iotons, forever out of reach, illuminating the truth. Immortal as we are, we die with the sun. That's where I come in. Jahu, form. My departure was a day less than any other. When I stepped inside the bell, I saw no crowd through its seriglass, no skeptical onlookers, no regal send-off. They all had given up on me and my paradoxical formulations. The wasted years have all shown the void to be just that. Nothing. No energy, no entanglement, no form. To spacefaring ambitions, a dead end. On the day, my laboratory was mostly vacant of witnesses, most of all of expectation. Only my sluggish attendants, my sagacious Kavat, Kalimos, and of course my daughter. I had raised her alone, but with inconsistent vigor. In those eyes, her mother's, I did see a terrible reflection of a man that did not exist. A brave and principled man about to make history. In truth, he was a void himself, an outcast, a joke, a nothing. Driven by my humiliation, failure had made me bitter and reckless. I would dive into the depths myself to prove them all wrong. I gave the signal. My daughter grasped the lever. Kalemos then belted out a desperate, rasping growl. But it was too late. Vom, order. The calipers yawed open the wall between worlds, stretching there a black trapezoidal gap. A door, a mouth. It yawned in the light of the room, splintering it to mesmerizing, unearthly hues. And I, inside the bell, dropping obliquely toward it from my gallows. Mass and time rippled as a sudden vortex jawed before me. My head was vapor, my feet lodestone. The bell around me flexed like a rat paralyzed in a winding, gulping snake. I faltered in the awe of it, stumbling against the seriglass, and with that shifted the bell's path through the wall. It grazed the caliper membrane, the edge of the door. No worldly edge was as thin, as sharp as could split even light. As the bell faintly grazed it, the seriglass was all at once rendered like strips of flesh by Dax's blade. My enclosure was beheaded in an instant, but still, I fell, sideways, into the void. Fast. Chaos. Death was on me, I was certain. I was face down, eyes clenched, my heart pulsing the last of its seconds, and my lungs burning the last of its air. A sudden nostalgia gripped me. I grasped desperately for memory of a storm just past, the fumbling pitch of a child's song. Yet all these thoughts seemed to steal away from my mind like smoke through a vent. I would die empty. I then became aware of another sensation, physical, a web of pain, needles itching into my arm. At once I realized I was alive. Laying in the bell's shattered seriglass, I groped the ground, warm stone, the floor of my laboratory. So, I had never left. And so, I had failed. Again. I heard a crunch alongside me. Someone stepping through the shattered glass. With great shame, I gasped and rose my head to face my daughter above me. But as I opened my eyes, it wasn't her. It was me. Riss. Light. The senselessness of it. The paradoxic, the vague, untimed form. I was alone, but not. For I stood there confronted by myself. A twin, but no brother. A reflection, but with dimension. Behind him, no horizon, but a vast broiling sea of caustic light pierced at random by black pin stars. And closer, around me, a gale of flowing vapor, profane in color, billowing relentlessly into the nascent lack, seeking all directions. I was standing on a precipice of familiar stone, jagged and unanchored as though cleaved directly from the very floor of my laboratory. I wondered at the vapor's path, smoking outward more, leaving behind now the walls, the filigree gold, the rare cuts of marble from my home. I knew at once the vapor's source. I turned away, back toward the wall, the trapezoid I had yawed into it. Vapor erupted inward at the gap, but not just from there. For as I rolled my eyes back, I saw the same. A great steam of scintillation smoking out from my skull. Dumb in awe, I faced toward my chimerical twin. He spoke. Kra, time. An old name, unspoken in the centuries since my mother reared me. A soft hiss, soothing as a viper's gaze. Little Bengal. The other me reached out, offering his hand, gliding toward me without moving, as though the distance between us was now collapsing. A confusion, most euphoric, filled my mind. With the shred of wit that remained, I decided that I should run for my life. At once, crazed and frantic, I fled. But I made no forward progress. Instead, the world compressed ever more around me, as though I were an anchor pulling the shore to reach. When I arrived at the door, or rather, the door arrived at me, I howled, hurling myself inside, out. And then and there I was, lost and unlost, howling on the floor in harmony with my wretched Kalimos, lacerated in flesh and heart, scattered as the bell glass, spilling blood and stomach on the cold stone floor. But I sensed the other there, at the wall's breach behind me, reaching still. I screamed, but my voice was gone. Forever. I looked, but my eyes would never see again. I swept my fist across the floor, snatching broken shards, and in gripping tightly, I filled my hands with ink. Close it, I wrote. Netra. Decay. Time, to us, is all but conquered. Our sacred kuva moves us on to new skin. We numb to our daily, yearly trifles, and remedy those memories that bring lasting misery. With all our misdeeds, our excess, our indignity, we are haunted by nothing. But not for me, for with each passing day, there grew within a tumorous idea. It was minute in those early days, the pale-reaching digits severed on the floor, studied with reverence, with greed. And it swelled larger in the latter days. The regal domes, the rail dedications, the unholy Zariman parade. I had put the stars within reach, but at what cost? I never spoke of him, that man trapped in the wall. And while there have been countless souls who have followed me through with their light skippers and field wave skins and very-eyed instruments, not a single one ever saw him. Me. And so it is that I will not take the Kuva now, or ever again. This is the last skin I'm in. Because of this idea, that I cannot be sure that in all that smoke commotion, in all that panic and fear, in that bending light and blinding dark, was it I who escaped? Or the other? Loke, void. From brooding gulfs are we beheld by that which bears no name. Its heralds are the stars it fells, the sky and earth aflame. Corporeal laws are unwrit as suns and love retreat. To cosmic madness, laws submit, though stalwart minds entreat. In luminous space, blackened stars they gaze, accuse, deny. Roiling, moaning, this realm of ours in madness lost shall die. Carrion hordes trill their profane accord with eldritch plans. To cosmic forms from tangent planes, we end as we began.
Citrine's a great name, but maybe Chunky McLumpy-Lumps is better!
In writing this short story, WARFRAME has recreated a motif of classic East Asian romantic folklore while giving it WARFRAME's unique approach to science fiction. Therefore, I think I should share the stories that likely inspired the writers at Digital Extremes as they wrote Citrine's Last Wish. Mooncake Melody, The Tale of Chang'e. Long ago, when the heavens were still young, there lived a noble young woman, known across the land for her radiant beauty, Chang'e. In these days, the stars in the sky were constantly changing, and one morning, not one but 10 suns rose above the eastern horizon. For days the crops dried, food turned to ash, and the people lost all hope of survival. Seeking to inspire the people to action, Chang'e sent word that she would promise to marry whoever could stop the tyranny of the 10 suns. Enter Ho Yi, a simple man who was known throughout his village as a great archer. With the crops gone, Ho Yi struggled to keep his village fed through hunting, but now even the animals grew thin. It was then that Chang'e's challenge reached his village. Being a simple man, Ho Yi thought, surely I can hunt the sun as well as I can hunt a boar. The next night he readied his heaviest bow, he climbed to the top of the nearest mountain, and waited for the suns to rise. He let the first sun go, knocked his arrows, and pulled the string with all his might, crying in agony. At this moment, the Jade Emperor, King of Heaven, and Shi Wangle, the Queen Mother of the West, the Jade Emperor's wife, looked upon Ho Yi. Seeing his tenacity, the Jade Emperor blessed Ho Yi's arrow, guiding it through the heart of 9 suns as they rose into the sky. News of Ho Yi's wondrous feat spread across China, along with the news of his marriage to Chang'e, the woman who inspired the hero. From then on, Chang'e and Ho Yi lived a simple life in Ho Yi's village. Both Ho Yi and the village doted on Chang'e, as she would prepare meals and mooncakes with the village children, while Ho Yi was out hunting. These happy days were sadly not to last. One night, Chang'e came down with a terrible sickness, and she could not rise from her bed. Devastated, Ho Yi set out on a journey to find a medicine to restore Chang'e's vitality, wishing and praying with every step that he would find the miracle cure. Whilst on the road, Shi Wangle, the Queen Mother of the West, came to him. She said, "For your heroism, the immortals of heaven have decided to welcome you into our ranks. Take these, and they will extend your life," as she handed him 2 small balls of herbs. They were medicine pills made from the peaches of immortality that grow in the Jade Emperor's garden. Hoi excitedly thanks Shi Wangme and immediately started running back to the village. Hoi thought with these he would be able to save Chang'e's life. Being a simple man, Hoi failed to realize that these 2 pills would be enough for 2 people. Hoi returned to Chang'e's bedside and explained how he came upon the pills of immortality. He urged her to eat them and get better, but she refused, saying, "What would be the point of being an immortal if I had to live forever without you?" They argued and fought, but Chang'e insisted. Soon she would die to her illness, but Hoi earned his immortality. He should take the medicine. She said, "If you really want to do something for me, I am hungry now. Could you make me a mooncake?" And so he did. And as he did, Hoi had a clever thought. He would hide the pills inside the mooncake, and Chang'e would get better. As Chang'e ate the mooncakes, she began to feel better. She sat up, strength returned to her voice, and then, as she and Hoi spoke, she began to float. As Chang'e was now an immortal, she had to ascend to heaven and live in the Jade Emperor's palace. Furiously, she tried to head back towards Earth, but could not resist the will of heaven. Before she could reach the stars, Chang'e pushed herself to the moon, still in heaven, but as close to the Earth as possible. There she would wait until Hoi found a way to come after her. But Hoi was a simple man. He was happy that his wish for Chang'e's life to be saved had come true. He returned to his role as a lonely hunter. 1 year later, in mid-autumn, Hoi looked up at the full moon, and for a moment, the radiant beauty of the moon reminded him of Chang'e. So he made some mooncakes, her favorite food, and made them an offering to the moon. He would do this every year until his death. An offering to Chang'e, goddess of the moon. Scrapped Wishes, The Legend of Tanabata. On the far side of the Milky Way lived Orihime, the daughter of Tente, the king of heaven. She spent her days weaving the celestial raiments of the gods. One day, while weaving by the riverside, Orihime gazed across the Milky Way and saw a modest cowherder struggling to get his ox to keep walking down the road. This cowherd was Hikoboshi, and whereas most cowherds would prod or whip the ox into moving, Hikoboshi was only using gentle methods to inspire the ox to stop grazing. He would pat the ox's head, lift the ox's chin, offer it a carrot. Sadly, nothing worked. Hikoboshi would just have to wait for his ox to eat its fill or get thirsty before continuing down the road. Orihime, seeing Hikoboshi's gentility in the face of anger, floated a cloth across the Milky Way to gently fall atop Hikoboshi's head. Distracted by its rainbow shimmer, the ox stopped grazing and began paying attention to Hikoboshi, allowing the gentle cowherd to continue his daily chores. Hikoboshi was rapt with curiosity. Where did this cloth come from, and who did it belong to? He saw no one on the road, but surely they would want it back. So he wrote a wish upon the cloth to meet with the cloth's owner, and tied the cloth to a bamboo tree. Seeing this strange wish, Orihime laughed and visited him that same night. Seeing this beautiful woman descend from the heavens, Hikoboshi was instantly smitten. The two talked and laughed. They played games of writing each other poetry and shared their dreams for the future. That night, Orihime and the humble cowherd Hikoboshi fell deeply in love. Over the coming weeks, the lovers began neglecting their work. No new celestial raiments were woven, and Hikoboshi's oxen roamed unfettered throughout the local villages. The angry cries of the people eventually reached across the Milky Way to Tente, the king of heaven. Infuriated, he forbade Orihime from ever returning to Earth or wasting any more time with the lowly cowherd. In the following days, Orihime sank into a deep sorrow. Hikoboshi continued to tie wishes to the bamboo tree each night. Both lovers continued to neglect their work. So Tentei, the king of heaven, made a deal, allowing Orihime and Hikoboshi to see each other once a year on the 7th day of the 7th month, when the stars were closest to the earth. Tentei asked the magpies to create a bridge across the Milky Way. Thus, once a year, on the 7th day of the 7th month, so long as the rain didn't stop the magpies from flying, the two lovers would have their wish to be together granted, atop the celestial bridge. Know that I have taken some extensive liberties when retelling these folktales, and I would encourage anyone who is interested to look into the many different versions these stories have taken over the years. But notice that something appears to be missing from each of these stories that is itself central to WARFRAME's story of Citrine's last wish: crystals. Radiant Horror, Land of the Lustrous. For the reference to crystals, I believe that we are also seeing a reference to a particular 2017 anime called Houseki no Kuni, Land of the Lustrous. The story follows Foss, one of a group of gem people living on an island many tens of thousands of years after the end of humanity. Folk legends say that the gem people grew from the remains of humanity's bones. In the sea live the Admirabilis, cephalopod people who grew from humanity's flesh, and on the moon the Lunarians, cloud people who grew from humanity's soul. The inspiration for the character designs of Land of the Lustrous coming from many of the same inspirations behind Warframe's biomechanical science fiction take on the influence of H.R. Geiger, but imagining it as beautiful rather than grotesque, yet still delivering on body horror through that beauty. Foss spends his days figuring out how a weak and fragile gem can be useful, and is tasked with the boring job of taking a survey of the various life forms of the planet, while all his friends work diligently to fight off the Lunarians who hunt the gems and steal their bodies, spiriting them away to the moon. Much later in the story, Foss and some of the gems go to the moon to confront the Lunarians directly, and it is in this part of the story that we see a re-emergence of one of the minor themes of Citrine's last wish. As the Warframe quest references Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus by John Gray, the story brings us this minor cultural association between gender norms and celestial bodies that has developed. In the various tellings of the story of Chang'e, she is mostly depicted as deceitful, greedy, and stealing the elixir of immortality, while Houyi is depicted as purely heroic and masculine, expressing a kind of cultural misogyny against women. In the story of Orihime, earlier versions of the tale do not paint the lovers' inability to unite as a tragedy, but rather it is meant to act as a cautionary tale, warning against neglecting gendered labor roles in society. In modern retellings, we tend to shift our narratives to reject society's demands that men and women be held to rigid standards, that the actual value of the stories are in upholding love and family, and far more important values than socially accepted gender roles. Land of the Lustrous plays with these concepts of gender. Characters often fluidly shift between being illustrated as more masculine or more feminine presenting. Cairngorm, a gem that expresses as very masculine, as he was once one half of the feminine presenting Ghost Quartz, joins Foss on his mission to the moon. There we meet Acmea, the leader of the Lunarians. He offers Cairngorm the opportunity to remove the last pieces of Ghost Quartz from Cairngorm's body. This brings them closer together, and they start a relationship. What follows is a rapid and unsettling transformation as the masculine-presenting Cairngorm starts to drastically shift her behavior and the appearance to be more explicitly feminine and more pleasing to Acmea's tastes. As an audience reading these chapters, the feeling you get is of the Cairngorm we knew responding to a compassion they never had before and changing themselves to meet an external expectation, convincing themselves that the thing they are becoming is their true self, but never fully acknowledging that the love they are receiving is contingent upon living up to Acmea's progressively stricter, vain standards of beauty and femininity. In the Warframe community, there has always been an undercurrent of discussions of sex and gender identity. Warframes present a range of body types of different sexes, some conforming more explicitly to masculine or feminine standards, and others being more sex-neutral. Warframe fans still discuss whether it is appropriate to create lewd fan art of Warframes or to discuss Warframes in a sexual manner on fan forums. More recently, Warframe designs have been leaning into presenting feminized Warframes, keeping butts large and in view ever since Wisp got quite popular. Not shying away from using male and female pronouns to refer to Warframes in the Laverian Museum segments, but how is the wiki supposed to tell me that Caliban, a sentient Warframe hybrid with no middle, is a male, while Zaku, who is just a bunch of parts, is androgynous, and Equinox, who is literally both male and female, is listed as female, while the red text explicitly calls attention to one of Citrine's more private design features. Regardless, today we are in an age where society is not terribly interested in what it means to travel the stars. There are too many problems here on Earth. Other than Titania's forest and the plains of Eidolon, just as most of Warframe's Earth is poisoned and uninhabitable, we worry that our planet will become unable to sustain human life long before we learn to live out there in the void. Yet for those of us who can still find the time to dream, we try to apply the best of our values to the changes of the cosmos. We wish that love and family will persevere beyond the emptiness of the veil. Stay true.